So where do I do this?
Do that.
Right here on the seat.
Peter or Josh.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You're not chopped liver.
Although I do price chop.
Becky here.
Becky.
We talking beef or calves? Because I'll do calves, but not beef.
Well, let's begin with our work session for tonight's council. This is an opportunity for any of the councilors to have extended discussion on any items in the agenda, ask any questions of our present department heads, or bring up any issues.
I just have a question on item 7A about the shrub and brush that's going to be cleared. Just want to check and make sure about, and I know it's mentioned in the resolution about avoiding erosion and so on. Will we have somebody on site kind of monitoring that to see what's taken down, so that, and how are we going to?
CD rail.
Okay. Thank you.
In the past, is that something that DPW has helped with as well? Or is it not doing the work, but on site?
No, it was all CD rail.
Okay. And would they, Adam, be interacting with your office as well? Where's the touchstone between the city and CP Rail?
CP rail usually has about 100-foot wide right of way across the rail, so anything within that 100 feet, they don't let anybody within. So they'll maintain all that themselves.
So if Councilor Ensel has a question about how that went in a couple of weeks' time, who would he ask that to?
So they pulled it similar to getting a license agreement. The landowner has requested a similar agreement through CP Rail. They have like a standard pro forma agreement. I can forward that to you. That has the contact person through CP Rail on it, that if we really want to check on it. As a practical matter, they have the real infrastructure that they want to ensure there's stability in the bank.
Sure. No, I understand that. I'm just saying, just in the event, this tree's blocking a view, let's take this one out.
Well, part of it too is to distinguish between scrub brush and trees with a mature canopy, so we can raise them, we can keep the mature tree, raise the canopy so there's a view shed, but take away all the vegetative growth. So it's built into it that you're not going to take the big, mature, healthy trees.
Yeah, there's a long history of negotiations with CP Rail and the various properties along that path. They're always involved, and their interest is, of course, to preserve the infrastructure properly. So they, we've got a resident here who's been pretty closely following that process, and maybe perhaps.
Well, another reason I asked that is that I do know that Pine Harbor is looking to do the same.
Yeah, well, didn't they just go through, not Pine
Lake
Harbor,
Forest did.
Lake Forest already went through that
Right.
process.
Yeah.
And
Tall Pines as well, the same request is going to be coming.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I asked the question, to make sure that there's continued integrity there.
Thank you.
Good question.
Any other questions? You'll see tonight that I'll be proposing to hold a hearing on a local law, P8 for 2017. This is giving our zoning board an extra set of tools, and once in a while the zoning board feels it's necessary to send work out for basically kind of a second opinion or an engineering consulting report. We want to make sure that it's just very well understood how that process is going to work. Something you've used in the past, we just want to spell out the process we've used in the past, what entity is responsible for paying what, etc. And it's an effort in a number of dimensions I think you'll be seeing soon, where we want to kind of go in and clean up the code to anticipate things that we've probably done in the past, but we really want to make sure that that we do it with full transparency, and the people who are involved in the decision are fully informed and engaged and understand that in advance. The other area we really want to spend a lot of time cleaning up the code is also in enforcement actions and giving the tools to the building inspector's office that they need to do their job most effectively. So you'll be seeing more recommendations on that as well in the near future.
Do we have an idea of how often they do use the reviews and the cost involved?
We used one recently, twice so far.
Recent history.
So not all that common, but once the city of Plattsburgh is an absolutely hopping place, then we hope to have more of these sorts of developments where this sort of question would be might be asked of an external expert.
It's 2 times so far since when? 2 times?
2 years ago?
Oh, okay. And also this will also accommodate the planning board, is that correct? If in case there's engineering questions? All right. I would think, would that have more action than the zoning board, the planning board in terms of contracting?
Yeah, I would anticipate that.
Any other questions? Would any counselors like to make any reports at this time?
I've been trying to work with the revision of the law and its enforcement. I've got to still meet with Dean. Is that what I said? What did I say?
Didn't think you specified.
Okay, snow removal. That's what I meant. Got to meet with Dean to firm up the language and see if I thought I had made a revision and learned that I was headed in the wrong direction thanks to expert legal advice, so I appreciate that. But Dean has also suggested that we meet Joe and somebody from the police department and just hash out once and for all. And once that law, it needs to be expedited. I mean, we're running up against the clock. So sorry that this snag has taken place, but also I've been communicating with the mayor and Sandra Geddes about how the PR will go. I have some suggestions, including perhaps, this is just a topic for discussion, the possibility of exemption. We did receive one request for exemption just this last week, and there are models for exemptions nationally, so I've looked into that, and that will be part of review once the law is ready for your approval. Hopefully by next.
And I don't think you anticipate changing the public's mind any expectation that they clean their sidewalks after a snow event.
No.
It's just how we would go about doing the enforcement on it.
Exactly.
But the expectation still remains in the code.
The law will remain the same. The only thing that needs to be addressed is the enforcement mechanism. Thank you.
Along those
Clarifying
lines,
that.
oh, I'm sorry. Along the lines of enforcement, we had talked about a new position possibly being created. Parking, is that in the works? Is that coming along?
As soon as we figure out if we can do the enforcement more based on a fee versus a fine structure, that clarify whether it be a policing function or a code enforcement function. So that's something that Dean and Councilor Armstrong are working on right now. Once that's clarified and you all pass the regime for which we would be doing the enforcement, then we could go out and do that higher. So there's a little bit of chicken and the egg thing.
Yeah, and I'm afraid that I got turned around into a circle regarding the process. So I went down an alley and it was a dead end. So I've got to come back down and work it.
When you hit the Y, the road goes straight. Yogi Bear. Okay. So the discussion then of parking enforcement is tied into this?
We'd like the same individual to be able to do parking, but ask them on a snow event to then also help us with the snow event, because neither the police nor the building inspector's office have the resources that we probably would need to do a consistent job with snow enforcement at the same time. And snow enforcement can't really be a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday thing, where the code enforcement officers might handle it. And if we have a snow event on a Friday night when the police are worried about, you know, Friday night activities and the bars and such, we can't have them off worrying about snow at the same time. So we really feel we need somebody who we can assign to be devoted to that on an as-needed basis.
And I invite any counselor who would love to work on this with me to, you know, kind of be a part of this meeting next week. I'm open. Okay. Yeah, we've worked together before, so good. Thanks, Dan.
All righty.
Any thoughts on, I think the Plattsburgh Farmers Market is coming up for renewal, and I think you had an active committee around this time last year to look at that, so I think that's coming back up again, if anybody's interested in running with that as well.
Yeah.
Running,
Everybody's looking
running
at me.
for it?
Not away from it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two markets, I mean, Dale and I kind of had an informal conversation about that. Dale first, you know, kind of recognized that the two markets were symbiotic almost.
But I don't know what the future plan is for this market number 2.
Yeah, I don't
So
either.
I don't
Do you
know.
know, Councilor Kretzer?
I think it's going to happen again next year.
Okay.
All right.
Pretty
All
sure.
right, that would be one thing to know. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's nice to have them in those sites, too.
They actually
She said it now.
augment. Oh, did you say symbiotic?
Symbiotic.
Did they actually augment each other's
Well, I mean,
success?
I remember seeing a sign at the Downtown Rising. It said, go
Right.
see the farmer's market down the pass there.
And-
So I thought that was a nice
And
gesture.
vice versa. It went
Yeah,
up the
yeah,
hill
they
as well.
did.
Yeah, there was
Good.
a ton of cross marketing. It was really
Yeah,
nice.
it's a nice path. Yeah.
Anything else?
I can think of.
Okay.
Oh, I have one thing. I meant to bring copies for all of you, my fellow counselors, but I read with interest some of the budget proceedings in our various municipalities. I read something in the Press Republican about Clinton County, Franklin County, and Essex County. And my favorite one was Essex County because they have embarked 5 years ago on a journey just like ours, and they're at the end of that 5-year journey, and they have an $18 million fund balance. So that's similar to where we want to get. So I'll make you copies, but if you can't wait, go get the Press Republican and read those. Those are good articles. And it was also nice to be reading them from a perspective of not being embroiled in budget negotiations ourselves. So it was a nice feeling too. But the one thing in the Essex County story that worried me a little bit was now that they have a healthy fund balance, they are contemplating spending more money. And I think, I don't know what the outcome of that will be, and I don't want to criticize them for that because, you know, I haven't been a part of it obviously, but it's something to watch out for. So when we get our fund balance where we want it to be, we want to keep it there. That's it.
If only we had a nursing home to sell, as they did.
Well, we may have something to sell.
Okay, well,
You never
we
know.
might.
I can give you a short update on the Public Safety Council. They've met a few times and they've broken up into subgroups. One group's focusing of a few handful of members on each one. One's focusing on the opioid challenge and is going to be working with one of your officers on that. One's focusing on community policing. One's focusing on information technology, meshes, cameras downtown, sensors to determine snow depths, all these kinds of things. And we've had a couple of presentations. The councilors know various systems that could do that. One's focusing really on code enforcement and some of the discussion we talked about earlier on, developing the tools necessary. And the analogy we use is that, you know, most of our properties are in great shape. Some of them become a one. They got, you know, one or two problems that they should really quickly and easily correct before they can become problematic later. And we'd really like to bring the owners up to speed so they can avoid expenses later on. Twos are things that go a little bit farther, you know, the siding that maybe start coming off of the building and might even pose a little bit of a hazard. Three are things that if we let them go any farther than that, they become a very dangerous property. And we've got probably a few fours in the city that are dangerous properties, dangerous to the residents, and also a real drain on the property value for neighbors as well. And we really want to focus more on those fours and the threes, kind of triage them and really put a lot more attention into remedying properties in that category, as well as spending time on the ones and twos to make sure that they are fixed up and don't get farther down that path. So one group is working almost solely on code enforcement because we believe that that's a public safety issue. If we have broken windows and boarded up windows, etc., they become that kind of magnets for other concerns over time. And then one group is going to work on shared services and how we all work together and have department lines cross each other and assist each other, etc. So we're going to work in smaller groups for a little while and then come back in a few weeks' time into a larger group setting as well. And a couple of you counselors are part of that process too, and you know, you can keep us informed. But I'm pretty impressed with the interest of everybody in that.
What do you hope the concrete outcomes will be?
A community where we take an awful lot of pride in our community, and we're all watching out for our community and keeping us collectively safe. And the theory is that if it can kind of begin with pride and making people feel very good about their neighborhoods, then the other things are much easier to deal with, and crime rates are lower, and etc.
Okay.
It's kind of called that broken windows theory, and we talked about a little bit in the past. So we'll report on that more as that progresses. If any of you want to be involved in different ways in that too, like I say, there's a number of small subgroups as well. Any other things? Well, our official meeting doesn't begin till 5:30. Seeing none other, do you want a 10-minute recess? We'll reconvene in 10 minutes then?
Sure.
Thanks.
We need. Okay, I didn't know, I noticed.
If you agree,
Okay.
after this meeting, then John will talk about this.
Okay.
I think 15
Follow as well, we can probably get that signed or something by month.
Hey, Dean,
No.
Brian will be busy. 21 buildings on fire in downtown Cohoes.
What I was trying to get at was, are there any changes?
Benson Street, main drive.
Structured a bit different, but yep.
Yeah.
I think that it's consistent with code enforcement. We just need to develop more tools. Some of it's code changes, some of it's policy changes. I think there's things we could have done that we just haven't done in the past. There's things we could do more, like really have those conditions when we get permits. This must be done by a certain date, otherwise this happens kind of
That's
stuff.
right.
But what
I don't know if we even need a code change for that.
Projectile
Just building some
based on that.
I think ran for that kind of person.
Oh, hi, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, do you want to read those paragraphs? Yeah, I need that back, but take a look, because I think your question was, what are the city's responsibilities in fixing this? And I think those paragraphs from the agreement to the school district NICEAG very clearly spell out who has what responsibility. So I don't really want to get into a legal, you draw your own legal analysis. You might not get me to say anything on record, because I don't want to make a legal statement. My interpretation of what I think was a very clear statement. Yeah.
Strong.
Has he had access to the original agreement?
Have you seen the original agreement as well?
Yeah, I think I have that.
And then another big one.
Yeah, Jalen Run gave me what he said is the original agreement.
This was from 15 years later. This was 4 years after the original agreement had expired. So I guess this kind of replaces it.
Yeah, probably thought it was suspicious mind. Probably a lot of suspicious mind.
Yeah, well, trajectory.
So what I'm trying to avoid is that he said, she said, that the mayor says that the school district owns the property. I'm not saying the school district owns the property. The agreement says that the school district owns the property.
Okay, I see. And they agree to that too. I mean, they say, yeah, technically it's ours, but they're saying it's kind of a technicality.
Bring Dale to our discussion.
Well, not exactly, because
He's gonna be there.
in here it explains why they own it. They decided to keep that property and not reconvey it, as they said. Because in 1992, they were supposed to convey the property to the city for a dollar. Now saying, no, we'll convey it to whoever we want to convey it to. And if the city wants to match that price, we'll offer to them as right to first refusal, but we're not selling to them for a dollar. So it's not a technicality. They changed their mind about what.
So you're saying it's not really a mystery that.
No, I mean, here's the reason why they did it. Because
And figure out what makes sense. I could get an email copy of this.
I don't have an email copy. Somebody just gave me this, but I'd like to photocopy it. Here's why they did it, because they were going to get $25,000 from NICEAG, and then preferential natural gas prices for forever for all of their schools, which is worth probably hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to them. So there's no mystery why they did it. They did it because it was a really, really good deal.
Yeah. Can I just take photos of the pages?
I just don't want to get into a he said, she said with it. It's obviously kind of messy.
So, do you think
If it has to go a week beyond that,
I mean, Jalen Run said litigation could be coming. Is that partly why you don't want to get into it in case that's and is that
And we wouldn't sue them. We have nothing to sue them for. They would be suing us. So if that's the case, I just have faith that the judge can decide for us. So I wouldn't want to weigh in on it.
you're afraid if you were to talk now that could influence
I don't know, it's just, I think it's a legal question, it's not an opinion question. All I can do is give you an opinion. I think we really need to focus on what the agreements say or what the law says. I have too many opinions floating around this already. I don't want to add one more.
It's just renaming it, really.
I'm aware of this kind of stuff. Yeah, you bet.
Twice a year. I think we heard once why, but there's a bookkeeping issue.
telling Dale, I can understand why it's because one, he gets paid the same. There's a summer vacation. You get paid Christmas.
No, and that's one of the things. Another theory was when we started making our salaries, interest rates were getting double digits back then. So one theory was the city wanted to sit on that money every 6 months.
That was what I heard. And also it gives you the opportunity to change your deductions because of the checks. So you just about clear it.
I don't know if you can.
It used to be.
I don't think you can.
Because that was a big, that was always the thing.
They get close to 50% of that. They actually tax it. When they issue the check, they tax it differently, right?
Yeah, they hit you hard.
But when you file your income taxes, it gets taxed.
It's kind of leveled out. Yeah. That's what happens at my job. If you do something really good and get a bonus, they take 40% of it. Well, thanks a lot.
So you give them 140% to get your 100%. That's, I hope you don't kill yourself trying to do it.
Right.
County, your town, because they're areas. It's only at the town that, they go out just to see who's done what. And it was only the town section of the track. So who knows? I mean, the city showed up and I thought, farther down the line, who knows what's going on there? And that was startling.
21 buildings now. I just saw a live thing from the news. The whole one side of the whole downtown.
What?
Cohoes, my hometown. 21 buildings in downtown right now on fire.
21. Last I heard it was 4.
21 now.
Spread.
One whole side is, and the buildings that, it's very, it would be, I was just on the chief, that it'd be similar to, from the blue collar bistro down to Arnie's being leveled. And there are buildings behind it. Gas station on the corner next to it, there's an old gas station behind it, ammunition being stored in a shed behind it.
How on earth they want to cover for them? Hope they got good insurance.
I don't know if a lot of this even occupied. They're vacated.
Hey, Colin, I didn't initial this. I was going to talk to Paul about it, but he's not here. And Beth told me that that's for scheduling, program for scheduling. There's a lot of cheaper programs. So that's why I didn't initial it.
Steve Peters classic scenario where in 2015 we entered the contract.
Is this a newest thing?
Parties shall agree to agree in good faith and negotiate incentive contract. I never came of it. I remember email back to Steve January last year. We need to fill that hole in the agreement. I don't know where it went, but I know we didn't formally do it for the council. So he made a side agreement with them. No idea, we need to hash it out. So that's one thing. Is there an agreement? Two, what is that number?
Yeah, I think it's.
What is that number based on? So let me, I can pull on, so I can see if the original contract has anything. Then second step is to see, was there some side agreement with Steve that afterwards they did, which lived up to it. Third thing is what's his
Do we know how it happened?
Then he
Fourth
said,
is whether the breaches.
3 o'clock, that's only the start at 3 o'clock.
I was on the ferry about
You wanna
that
keep
time,
this or do
and
you
I was
wanna
listening
keep
to
this?
I'll make it, you keep it, I don't know.
Okay.
The custodian.
the Albany, WAMC, and
That
everything.
rec person.
They said it was 4 buildings.
Probably is just.
Then it was 17, then it went to 17.
Ready to go, everybody? Let's call the meeting of the City of Plattsburgh Common Council order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Reed.
Present.
Councilor Armstrong. Councilor Kelly.
Here.
Councilor Dowdle.
Here.
Councilor Ensel.
Here.
Councilor Casper. Councilor Kretzer.
Here.
I just add maybe one more comment. Those of you who maybe had a chance of coming down through the bottom entrance today, the group that is arranging to have the finance department move into this building have been really active. Those offices downstairs are almost cleaned out. We would like to do a little bit of painting and cleaning up for them before 9 employees come over, but there's a really good plan for how to create the counter space and access, etc. It's going to require moving the individuals as part of the infrastructure division, which includes our engineering aide and our engineer, our department head, Ruff, and their assistant upstairs. So they'll operate the area upstairs, and 3 offices that are currently with the CDO. You might say 3 offices. Well, there will be a senior planner at some point joining them upstairs as well. So we anticipate 4 people up there at least. And then the CDO office, we anticipate moving down to the main floor here in the old council chambers, and also the office adjoining right next door here. So we're trying to do a little bit of painting and fixing things up before they come down. So there's a lot of movement of offices that's begun. They've made a lot of progress already in that, and it seems like a really nice plan they've assembled and where everybody's going to go. One of the ideas we want is, you know, the CDO office is so important for the future growth of Plattsburgh, and to have that as a high-profile office, just as people come through the main door here, they're going to see right in front of the community development office a buzz of activity with Paul D. Dominicus and Sandra Geddes and interns and Vista volunteers, etc., all working in that space. These 2 offices together is going to be really exciting. So be watching for that. Things are happening very quickly. Related to that is it's proposed that we put a drop box for payments to the finance department for bills, etc., outside in at a drive-by location, so they can come up perhaps Trinity, and instead of next to where they would mail a letter, they could also drop in their payments. And as you know, we're also moving more towards electronic payment, online payment, where they can just do it in the convenience of their own home through their checking accounts as well. So watch for those changes, but everything seems to be progressing really well, and the people that will be coming over here from the finance department seem pretty impressed with the facilities that they're going to find themselves in, and that's reassuring as well, because obviously change is difficult, but people working so positively on this is really, really great. So if you haven't had a chance, come by, take a look at the progress, watch the progress. We need to get Adam a lime green shirt, because everybody else, there's about a dozen lime shirts this afternoon down coordinating all that, and I thank you all for all your hard work and moving everything so quickly. That's all I have. We can continue.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on November 21st, 2017 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the City Clerk's Office.
Moved by Councilor Armstrong, seconded by Councilor Dowdle. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payables of the various departments of the City of Plattsburgh for the week ending November 29th, 2017 in the amount of $100,076.13 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Kretzer, seconded by Councilor Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved, the reports as listed are hereby ordered, received, and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Counselor Hensel and seconded by Counselor Dowdle. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the bills ordered by the common council for the week ending December 1st, 2017 in the amount of $377,020.19 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Counselor Dowdle, seconded by Counselor Hensel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. This is an opportunity for any individuals from the public to please come and address the council on any issues of mutual concern. At this time, we ask you to restrict the discussion to anything that's on the agenda. There will be another public comment period at the end of the meeting for any other items of mutual concern. So please come forward if you like.
Hi, my name's Ira Barbell. I live on 62 Club Road at Harborview Condominiums. You have an agenda item on your desk in front of you. And I wanted to, to speak to some of the questions that Mr. Hensel raised. And it's been a multi-year process to work through this with Canadian Pacific because of the concerns regarding the bank next to the track that goes down to the lake. And before any finalization was made by Canadian Pacific, they actually had an individual come up with us and meet with us, but he also met with Jim Carter, who did the work at Lake Forest, and they walked that property and looked at all the bank, the trees, and discussed what could go out, what couldn't go out. And Jim Carter, who did the work for Lake Forest, was very familiar from the previous agreement he had with the city, pointing out certain trees that are halfway down the bank or on the shore and actually have grown tall and large enough that they actually are above the sight line where the railroad is, and indicated that those trees would not be touched because that was a condition that the city had set previously. And so they walked through and looked at a lot of the issues that you were raising. There will be a Canadian Pacific Rail employee on site during all the cutting process. He will control where the equipment is held, and apparently they have a 2-mile limit prior to coming to that site and further down the site. And when the train gets close to that 2-mile limit, they radio him. He then tells the workers that they have to cease whatever they're doing, move their equipment, and the train goes through. The train then radios him back when they are 2 miles further down the track, and then they can begin work on the site again. So there's that kind of disruption that's also going to cost us money because Canadian Pacific charges $1,500 a day for that individual to be there. So, but
thank you. I just wanted to make sure that.
I appreciate your. I would have come up and said something about this, and we are as concerned as anybody about making sure that that property remains stable. One of the things that they insist is you can't grind roots. You can't take the roots out, so it leaves the roots, and those roots will not die because the tree is cut down close to the ground. They will continue to be there. And as an additional thing, we're interested in exploring, perhaps with the city, planting some things in that property. I have known nothing about plants, but I'm sure we can get people there that do to find native plants that actually would add some color, some interest, whatever, to that property once some of the trees are removed. So that's the plan that we have down the road. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Any other individuals like to come forward? Seeing none, let's continue, please.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council authorizes the mayor to sign a license agreement with James D. Carter Logging LLC to enter the city of Plattsburgh property located on Club Road, adjacent to the property owned by the residents of the condominium.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading and move the resolution.
Moved by Councilor Quester, seconded by Councilor Dowdle. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Discussion, please.
Yeah, I would just like to speak in appreciation to the initiative that Harborview has taken. Excuse me. Maybe I won't be able to say anything. I'm afraid I'm having a moment. Oh my.
A few moments.
Really not that emotional.
Sorry. And we don't even have a water cooler. Sorry.
Counselor Dowdle, a song maybe? For the occasion? Yeah. Can't do it here. All right.
Maybe in Counselor Armstrong's absence, I will say, if I lived in in one of these residences, I would very much like to have a view of the lake, and I think it adds greatly to not just the property values, but the values of the view there. It's magnificent, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out.
Well, thank you. I started to say that it really enhances all of that public area to the bike path. You know, what has been done down in Harborview, down in Lake Forest is just wonderful. So I would be happy to work with you guys and figure out a way to plant something that will stay, something that's perennial. I was running, so I've got that too. Thank you.
Between your coughing and Beth's spontaneous laughter. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Spencer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the Common Council approves a public forum to be made available commencing December 6th for a period of 30 days at Trinity Park, providing free, equal, and unrestricted access for holiday displays. The maximum size is a 10 by 10, and requests must be filled at the city clerk's office in advance. A $20 fee for electricity and certificate of insurance are required.
Moved by Counselor Kretzer, second by Counselor Kelly. Discussion, please.
I just have one question. In the resolution, it says that it will begin December 6th for a 30-day period, but in the application, it mentions will be removed on or before December 25th. Is it?
I think it's actually correct. What they've done is over about a 2-week period.
But this would just be, this resolution is just for anyone that could
have equal
to make,
access?
yeah, equal opportunity Trinity Park to be available through January.
For the holiday season.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
I mentioned earlier we'd like to introduce local law P8 for 2017, a local law adding section 270-59 to Article 9 entitled Professional Review Fees to Chapter 270 Zoning, City Code of the City of Plattsburgh, and set a hearing date for Thursday, December 14th, 2017 at 5 p.m. Council Chambers. Thank you. And it gives me a great pleasure also to hand down the reappointment of John Niles as part-time City Court Judge effective January 3rd, 2018. It's understood that the term will expire on December 31st, 2018. Normally that's a longer term, but in the process of that year he'll be reaching the mandatory retirement year, which will entitle him to finish off his term to the end of the calendar year. So we'll then anticipate replacing on a more permanent basis this part-time judge. So I ask for a roll call, please.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the city chamberlain to transfer $4,000 within the sewers fund WPCP accounts in order to cover unbudgeted wind damage to the Cumberland Avenue pump station.
Moved by Counselor Armstrong, second by Counselor Kelly, please. Any discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
No travel requests at this time. Are there any resolutions for initial consideration? Seeing none, I see Dr. King is here. I want to thank you. I asked Dr. King to represent the council as our nominee to the Clinton County Board of Health, and they were very pleased to see somebody with veterinary experience on the Board of Health. Obviously, that's got a very important component, animal health, for our county as well. So thank you for being so willing to serve. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Becky.
Any other new business or council reports?
Beth, you did an exceptional job tonight. Oh yeah, actually, for those of you who haven't seen in the paper or any publications or the city website, which you should be visiting regularly, this Saturday is the third annual holiday parade and tree lighting in downtown Plattsburgh, starting at 6 o'clock uptown by the campus and then coming down all the way through to downtown, culminating with the tree lighting at the Strand Center. So there'll be music, there'll be, I think there's upwards of 50 floats, and it's going to be a really great time. So it's been fun the past few years, so stop by and check it out.
It was great last year, and it won't be as cold as last year, too. And I think Councilor Ensel, you're doing the emceeing for the event as well. So everybody's invited to please come. It's going to be a great day.
Wow. Starts at 6, the parade, and then the tree lighting is immediately following.
Any other new business or council reports?
Just in case.
Seeing none, this is another opportunity for the public to please come and address the council now on any issues of mutual concern.
So as you might have, sorry, Scott Rouge, back to Cleveland, Franklin, Essex. And if you might have seen, last weekend was the kickoff for Big Tobacco's apology tour. To say I'm sorry to the public for years of lying and deceiving, lying that their product was addictive and lying that they never targeted youth. So I wanted to give a little history for you guys to read at home or wherever. Two things I want to point out. If you look at the second sheet there, the stapled, says court ordered. The first paragraph, it says, in 2006, the U.S. District Judge Gladys Kessler found the major tobacco companies guilty of violating civil racketeering laws and engaging in a decades-long conspiracy to deceive the American public about the health effects of smoking and the marketing to children. That's where I come in because I'm the reality check project coordinator, so I work with youth. And on the second one that says press release here, about 3 paragraphs down, it says, let's see, you got the Washington D.C. paragraph, and then you said the ads, and then it says, make no mistake, tobacco companies are not running these ads voluntarily. So it's like, the way I explained it to my middle schoolers today, before I came here, it's like when you've done something wrong to maybe a friend, and your mom was like, oh no, you better go back and say I'm sorry, so you go back and say to your friend, well, my mom says to say I'm sorry, so I'm sorry. It's BS. So this is kind of what they're doing. It's what we want to make known is, yes, the tobacco industry is coming back and saying, I'm sorry for years of, deceiving. But if you look at the ads, and I think they started playing on the TV on Sunday, it's federal court ordered us to say I'm sorry, so we're saying I'm sorry. So just so that you know their heart and the interest, they really don't care still, and just wanted you to have that knowledge and information.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other individuals like to come and speak with the council tonight? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Counselor Armstrong, second by Counselor Ansel. Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Spencer?
Yes.
Thanks very much,
You gave me the
everybody.
cough drop.
I did.
Thank you
For $1.
for so much.
For $1.
Uh-huh.
Don't mention it was in my coat pocket for about 3 years. So it's supposed to wrap it
Yep, we've already started working on being completed by the end of the month.
Okay.
$36,000 savings per year.